Hello everyone, this is the real Black Otaku. It's been a while since I've posted a video on this channel. How long ago has it been? 8 months. Huh. Well, anyway, sorry for the delay, but I am back. For those who've been keeping up with the video games that have been released recently, should know that the highly anticipated and heavily marketed Halo 5 Guardians launched only a couple weeks ago. This being the most recent installment of the video game franchise, which I am a huge fan of, and a game which I was actually lucky enough to play the beta for back in late December, early January. In honor of this release, I decided to do a review involving Halo. Since video game and novel reviews really aren't my cup of tea, my options are kind of limited. But I do have one thing that I can review. Today's review is of Halo Legends. So what is Halo about? Well, for the most part, it's about humanity's struggle against an alliance of alien races known as the Covenant, in a hell-bent on the extermination of the human race. Along the way, they have struggles against human insurrection, a parasite that feeds off sentient life, and eventually remnants of a long-lost civilization. Halo Legends is pretty much a collection of several short stories that expand upon the universe laid out by the games and books, each individual segment having a story of its own. So, pretty much what the Animatrix did for the Matrix movies. As individual stories, I found that they worked rather well, not only as their own thing, but as an extension of the Halo universe. And then there's this one segment titled Odd One Out, which it felt more like a shonen, and one that I was never a huge fan of. I guess you'd call that one the Odd One Out. Oh, fuck you, that was brilliant. Well, beyond not being a fan of Odd One Out, my biggest issue with the story for Halo Legends is how there are several inconsistencies with pre-established lore. These inconsistencies range in severity, from minor nitpicks to, yeah, that did not happen like that. Then again, this wouldn't be the only time anything Halo has contradicted the lore. I'm looking at you, Halo Reach. Now I'm not going to stand here and say I'm an expert in Halo lore, because I am not. In fact, I'm far from caught up with the novels. But there's still several continuity issues that I was able to pick up on. And while it does go against the lore at times, I'm glad to say that it actually builds off of some things that were only explored in the books, including how the candidates for the Spartan 2 program were kidnapped by Oni at around the age of 6 and replaced by flash clone copies in order to cover up their disappearances. These clones having a really bad habit of dying very easily. In fact, the segment titled Origins Part 1 actually lays the groundwork for the Forerunner saga of novels, only for Part 2 to take a huge shit on the events of Halos 2 and 3, but that's beside the point. Despite having some continuity issues, each segment of Halo Legends works very well as their own individual stories, and it builds off of the Halo universe in a way that satisfies both the casual fans of the games and the hardcore readers of the books. The characters were an interesting selection. There are some characters who are returning from the games and books, as well as some characters who are original to Halo Legends. These new characters include a Marine with a traumatic past, an ODST with a very, short temper, a handful of Spartans, an Arbiter who predates both Belvanum and Reaper Morami, and a handful of characters who are pretty much there to be killed off like minorities in a horror film. If I was to choose a favorite character among these, it would be a very close toss-up between a Spartan named Daisy, a late Arbiter named Falchavami, and a Marine Sergeant known simply by his call sign Ghost. Each of these characters are presented in a way that makes them stand out from the fan favorites, and to allow them to work very well within their respective stories, and feel like they would fit within the Halo universe. Surprisingly, the returning characters don't get as much screen time as the new guys. Some characters like Sergeant Johnson, the Gravemind, and who I assume is the Prophet of Truth only get brief cameos. Dr. Halsey, Dutch, and Spartans Kelly and Fred do have more active roles, but are for the most part sidelined by other characters. The AI Cortana, for the most part, acts as the narrator for both parts of Origins. And then there's the legend himself, Master Chief Petty Officer John Sierra 117, who has several brief appearances throughout the collection, but gets the spotlight in the segment titled The Package. As for the treatment of the returning characters, I was very satisfied with it, with the exception of Dr. Halsey. She felt too cold in her appearance in Homecoming, and felt too much like Cortana in the package. The latter of which is kind of understandable if you're aware of the connection between the two, but that's not important. Other than that, my biggest issue with the returning cast would have to involve the dub, but I'll get to that in a bit. One last thing worth noting would be, in both parts of Origins, Cortana mentions being 7 years old, as well as having some distortion in her projected avatar, these being signs of rampancy, a condition where smart AI like her begin to break down and die, thus eventually becoming a very major plot point in the Halo 4 campaign, and to a lesser extent Halo 5 as well. I'm not sure if this was something that was intentionally planned out ahead of time, but it was something that I'd rather like to see. The animation is rather interesting for the fact that there is no standard look. Halo Legends as a whole was produced by Celadon Studios, causing the style and quality of the animation to vary greatly from segment to segment, ranging from standard 2D animation to straight CGI. As a whole, the animation actually looks pretty good for 2009. Some segments have aged better than others, but overall it does hold up. If I was to pick a favorite look among them, I would have to go with the Duel, produced by Production IG. Even though there are some quality dips every here and there, and the character models for the elites being very off at times, it appears to have this filter that makes it look like it's been hand-painted. Also, just look at these shots right here. They look absolutely amazing. Something that I've loved about the Halo novels is that we read about these hand-to-hand fights that showcase the Spartans kicking ass in all their glory. Unfortunately, we don't see many fights like that in the games. Rather, there's the John Mark fight in Halo 5, and the Forge Arbiter fight in Halo Wars, but that's about it. Thankfully, we do get a handful of fights like that in Halo Legends, and it is just as glorious as I imagined. Fun fact today, according to the commentary on the DVD, the director of the package, Shinji Aramaki, is a fan of the games, and this shows when we get a look at the Spartans' heads-up displays, as they are consistent with the heads-up display in Halo 3. We also see Kelly wearing the EVA armor, no more customization options since Halo 3, and a design choice which actually carries over to her game debut in Halo 5 Guardians. Like what I said about Cortana's implied rampancy, I'm not sure if this was planned out ahead of time, but it's something worth noting. Other than the incorporation of the lore and the inclusion of some, dare I say, amazing new characters, my favorite aspect of Halo Legends would have to be the music. The soundtrack primarily consists of remixes of songs from the original games, as well as some original pieces. Given how great the music was for the games, or at least for the original trilogy, it felt really good to hear these songs that felt like they were taken straight from the games. The grand orchestral pieces that make very good use of strings and brass, and that all too familiar vocal choir. Not only did the music sound great, but it felt true to the games, which is all a fan like myself can ask for. One specific segment I'd like to point to would be the Duel. Unlike all the other segments, the music for the Duel is all original, and has a very distinctly different feel from the rest of the soundtrack. Given how different the focus was for the Duel, it worked exceptionally well. Now, the dub. First thing worth mentioning is who licensed and dubbed it. It wasn't Funimation, Sentai, or even ADV, but, in fact, Warner Brothers. However, the ADR director was Stephen Foster, who, despite his reputation, a reputation which I disagree with, by the way, it was actually a pretty damn good dub. We hear from voice actors who you usually hear in other animated dubs, including Chris Patton, Emily Neves, Carly Mosier, Dave Matronga, Melissa Davis, and Blake Shepard, just to name a few. For the sake of this review, I actually did watch Halo Legends subbed, and, well, I really didn't care for it. And that's not just my usual preference for dubs talking, it honestly didn't feel right in Japanese. The one exception to this would be Odd One Out. I think its shonen-esque feel will allow the Japanese to work a lot better in my opinion, and actually allowed me to enjoy Odd One Out a lot more than I originally did in English. If you insist on watching Halo Legends subbed, don't do it on the DVD. The subtitles for the DVD are suited for the dub, which normally wouldn't be an issue, but that the scenes that are heavy with the narration, or the times where a character is talking where we don't see their face, usually because they're wearing a helmet, the dialogue is paced slightly different between both languages. Meaning that there are times where the subtitles are out of sync with the dialogue. Just imagine the dubbing for the old Godzilla movies, but instead of the lip flaps, it's the subtitles. As much as I appreciate this dub, it does have some issues. For me, it's more so to do with the casting choices for the pre-existing characters. I can excuse the casting choices for Lucy Christian and Andrew Love as Kelly and Fred respectively, because they don't appear outside the books until Halo 5 Guardians. However, it will feel really weird to listen to Kelly in English after you've finished the Halo 5 campaign, because in the game, she has a very thick British accent, an accent which is totally absent in this dub, and one that I don't recall ever being mentioned in the books. As good of a performance as Shelley Colin Black and David Wall gave as Cortana and John respectively, I would have preferred it if Jen Taylor and Steve Downes were able to reprise their roles. If you couldn't already tell from all the pointless trivia and unnecessary tangents throughout this video, I love Halo, and this love carries over to Halo Legends. Is it perfect? Of course not. Whether you look at it as an anime, as an extension of the Halo universe, or as its own story, it has its flaws, but I was able to enjoy it for what it was. As for scoring, I give Halo Legends a score of 7.5 for story, for having several great stories, albeit with some continuity issues. 8.5 for its characters, for having some great characters who work well in their respective stories, as well as overall acceptable representation of returning characters. An 8 for animation, for having different styles unique to each segment that have overall aged rather well. 9 for sound, for having a great soundtrack, as well as a very solid English dub. And a 9 for personal enjoyment, for reasons that should be plainly obvious at this point. Overall, Halo Legends gets a final score of 8.4. If you're into sci-fi action stories with a touch of drama, you might be able to enjoy Halo Legends. However, I doubt you'll be able to properly appreciate it unless you've played the games or have read the books. Now, recommendations for Halo Legends was actually rather hard for me to put together. Not because I had a hard time choosing between recommendations, it's that I did not have much to work with. In the end, I did manage to get 2. The first goes to the obvious Animatrix, for doing to the Matrix movies what Halo Legends did to the Halo games. Now this second recommendation is where I had some trouble, but I settled on Halo Evolutions. Yes, I know it's more Halo, and I know it's a book, but very similar to Halo Legends, it has several short stories set within the Halo universe. But instead of being animated, it's all in text form. Now, I know these weren't the best recommendations, but that's the best I got. So go ahead and tell me down in the comments some of your thoughts on Halo Legends and some of the points I brought up here. Now, it feels really good to be recording again, and I hope to get some more content out to you guys in the near future. But until then, this is the Real Black Utaku signing out. See ya.